Have you ever been criticized to your face, right in the middle of a room full of people? It feels like the whole world is staring at you. Your heart is pounding, your mind is blank, and every instinct inside you screams, "Rebut it now. Defend yourself." But you know what? That moment is the greatest test of calmness. And if you pass, you will come out of that situation with a strength that fame can never give you. Blank. Underscore. Blank. Imagine you're on stage, or simply speaking at a meeting. You're prepared, confident, and think everything is going well. Then, out of the blue, someone raises their hand, smiles defiantly, and delivers a blunt criticism. It's not just a question. It's a bit sarcastic. A chuckle echoes from a corner of the room. And instantly, you feel dozens of eyes on you. For a few brief seconds, your mind is caught in a whirlwind. What are people thinking? How will they judge me? Will my reputation, which I have built up over time, collapse because of this statement? Feelings of shock, embarrassment, and discomfort begin to arise. And then, your instinct urges you to react immediately to protect your image. But this is the trap that many people fall into. Because when you react just to save your reputation, you inadvertently put control of your emotions in the hands of the critic. Remember, the real pressure in this situation comes not only from the other person's words, but also from the eyes of the crowd. And the danger is, we often forget that the crowd is just an audience, not the ultimate judge of truth. But because we are afraid of losing face, we let our reputation guide our actions, instead of our reason. Why are we so vulnerable? Partly because we have identified our self-worth with our image to others. We value our reputation, which is only an outsider's perception, more than our truth. We fear losing our reputation more than we fear losing our inner peace. And when you do, anyone can manipulate your emotions with just a few words. Stoic philosophy saw this thousands of years ago. Epictetus once said, "If someone insults you, it's just their opinion. It only becomes a problem if you believe it." And Marcus Aurelius also mentioned, "Fame is external. It does not belong to you." So, the first rule when being criticized in front of a crowd is not to leave your emotional fate in the hands of others. Do not let your ego be controlled by the desire to protect your image immediately. Because your calmness at this time is the strongest message to both the critic and the crowd. That you are guided by reason, not by the fear of losing face. I know, it sounds simple, but to do it, you need to change the way you look at yourself and your reputation. You need to understand that your worth is not in what other people think, but in how you stay strong even when you are put under the harshest of lights. And this is what we're going to dive into: how to not identify with fame, so that no matter what anyone says, where you are, in front of how many people, you're still yourself. You know, here's a truth that few people are willing to accept: not all criticism is worth taking seriously. It may seem obvious, but when it happens in front of a large group of people, it feels different, because then it's not just words, it's an attack on your image. Right in front of the crowd. But stop and look deeper. Not all criticism is true. Some criticism comes from misunderstanding. From people who don't have all the information. They may only know part of the story, or they may have heard it from a third party, and then jumped to conclusions. And if you react immediately, You're fighting an incomplete version of the truth. Then there are criticisms that have nothing to do with you. They simply reflect the speaker's negative emotional state. They may be frustrated, disappointed, or carrying their own hurts, and you've become the target for them. In this case, if you get angry, you're just reacting to the other person's feelings, not to the facts. And then, there are critics whose goal is clear: to manipulate or discredit you. These people know full well that they are in front of a crowd, and they use that to create pressure and make you lose your cool. If you fall for their bait, reacting hastily will only serve their purpose. One thing to remember: just because criticism is delivered in public, it doesn't mean it has any more weight. A stage, a hall, or a crowded boardroom doesn't make a statement true. The crowd is just an audience. They're not the ultimate arbiter of right and wrong. Yet, ironically, when someone delivers criticism in public, most of us feel that it carries more weight, as if it has special power. Why is this? Partly because of social instincts. Humans are afraid of being excluded, afraid of losing their position in the group. When someone openly criticizes, the fear of losing one's place immediately arises. Our ego is hurt, and the feeling of being humiliated spreads throughout our body. In just a moment, you begin to fear that the image you have worked so hard to build will collapse in a matter of minutes. But if you pay attention, you will see something interesting. The crowd often does not care as much as you think. After a few hours, even a few minutes, they will be busy with their own problems. The only thing they remember may not be the content of the criticism, but how you responded, and this is to your advantage. If you keep your cool, if you don't let anger take over, you've inadvertently sent a message more powerful than any excuse. I'm not swayed by what others say. Even if it's said in front of 100 people. This doesn't mean you should ignore every attack. But before you respond, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Is this true or just personal opinion? 2. Is this person trying to help me improve? Or are they trying to tear me down? 3. Will my reaction now improve the situation or just make it worse? You'll be surprised to find that, most of the time, public criticism doesn't need to be addressed immediately. It's perfectly fine to let it go and respond later, when you're calm, clear, and in control. Remember, when you are publicly criticized, you don't have to win right away. The real victory is when you stay clear-headed and don't let your defensive instincts ruin the image you want to build over the long term. Have you ever wondered if tomorrow everyone around you suddenly thought differently about you? Would you still be yourself? This is a seemingly philosophical question, but it is very practical, because most of us are living based on something other than ourselves. That is reputation. Reputation is just the image others think about you. It is like a mirror that reflects, but never reflects, the real you. And that mirror is held in the hands of hundreds, thousands of people, each looking at it through their own lens. Some people look at you and see you as wonderful. Others see only your flaws. But whether it is praise or criticism, it is all just perception, not absolute truth. The real you exists beyond all the judgments, positive or negative. The problem is, many people forget this. They identify with their reputation. They let the image others have of them become the measure of their self-worth. And when that happens, Their emotions become fragile and easily manipulated. A compliment can lift them to the sky, but a criticism can drag them down to the bottom. More dangerously, when you value your reputation too much, you will lose your inner freedom. You start to act according to other people's expectations. You say what they want to hear, do what they want to see, and gradually, you lose your true nature. You no longer live for what you believe is right, but live for fear. Fear of what others think badly. Fear of the image you have built being shaken. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "If someone insults you, it's just their opinion. It only becomes a problem if you believe it, and that's the key." Because if you don't identify with your reputation, praise or criticism is just an external echo. It may reach your ears, but it can't reach the core of your being. Consider this example. You are a singer performing. In the middle of the audience, someone shouts, "Your voice is terrible." If you identify with your reputation, that moment will knock you out. You will forget about the other people enjoying the music and focus on the critic. But if you detach yourself from your reputation, you will understand that it is just an opinion, it may not be true. And it does not define the value of your music. You can continue to sing, even sing better, because you are not letting a single voice control you. This doesn't mean you ignore feedback or ignore your image. It just means you put it in its proper place, as a reference, not a measure of your worth. Reputation is a tool. It can open doors, help you connect with others, but it's not your soul. And if that tool gets damaged, you're still valuable. Ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as someone who was true to themselves? Or someone who tried to please everyone? The answer to this question will determine how you handle compliments and criticism in life. Ultimately, keeping your distance from fame not only frees you up, but it also helps you respond more clearly. When you're not driven by fear of embarrassment or the desire for recognition, you're able to look at situations with a calm eye, evaluate information objectively, and act on your true values. And that is the power of an unfettered mind. When fame is no longer a rope that pulls you up or pulls you down, you are truly in control of your life. Do you know what really determines how people remember you after a confrontation? It's not how smart you are. It's not the strength of your argument. It's the first moment you react. 3 seconds. Those seemingly short 3 seconds have the power to shape the entire conversation, and even your long-term reputation. If you let your emotions guide you during those 3 seconds, you're likely to react hastily. Your words will be sharper than necessary, your tone harsher than you intend, and your eyes will burn with anger. The result? You may regret it later, but you can't take it back. I once saw a colleague of mine, a very smart and articulate person, lose the respect of many people after her boss criticized her in front of the entire meeting room in the first 3 seconds. She immediately retorted, her voice higher than usual, her face red with anger. After the meeting, no one talked about work anymore. The whole conversation revolved around how she exploded in front of the crowd. So what do we do at that moment? The answer lies in a simple but incredibly effective technique. I call it the spacing technique. When you are criticized, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath, just one. Breathe in slowly, hold it for a second, and then breathe out. In that moment, imagine yourself not as the person being criticized, but as an audience member sitting in the corner of the room. Observing the entire situation, you will see everything more clearly: the other person's tone, the crowd's attitude, and even your own emotions. Then ask yourself, is this really important for my peace? It may sound philosophical, but this question will pull you out of your defensive mode and bring you back to the bigger picture. 80% of the attacks we hear in life are not worth losing your peace over. And here's a little-known secret: the crowd doesn't force you to react. You put the pressure on yourself. When we're publicly criticized, our social instincts make us think that if we don't respond right away, others will think we're weak, or that we're tacitly admitting our mistake. But the truth is, sometimes, silence is the strongest answer. Think about a time in your life when you saw someone being attacked and they remained calm. Not fighting, not getting angry, just listening and nodding. How did that feel? They seemed in control, like nothing you said could shake them. That's the power of calm. Stoicism calls this the power of response choice. You can't control what other people say, but you can absolutely control how you respond. And sometimes, no response is the smartest strategy. Some people will ask, but what will people think if you stay silent? The answer is, they will think exactly what you want them to think: that you are not easily swayed, that you choose to engage in meaningful conversations, and that calmness will take the sting out of criticism. Imagine an arrow shot with full force, but instead of hitting the target, it falls to the ground because you never stepped into the shot. Your calmness is an invisible shield, and the critic will realize that they cannot make you lose control. So, the next time someone tries to push you into a public response, remember 3 things. 1. The first 3 seconds are your golden opportunity to stay calm. 2. The distance technique helps you see things as an observer, not a victim. 3. Don't let the crowd, or your own fear, force you into a hasty reaction. Because in the end, the winner is not the one who has the last word, but the one who walks away from the confrontation with his heart and mind intact. When criticized in public, most people react not to the words themselves, but to the feeling that there are many people watching. That invisible pressure makes them forget the most important thing: the nature of the problem. And this is the reason why many people react wrongly, and then regret it. If you want to stay cool in this situation, the first step is to filter the information. Remove all the emotional elements from the other person's words, the sarcasm, or the condescension. Don't let that spice overshadow the meat of the message. Because no matter how unpleasant, there is often a useful piece of information hidden inside an attack. The question is, are you calm enough to recognize it? For example, if someone says, "Your presentation was terrible. It sounded like reading a bad book," instead of getting angry and clinging to the word bad or awkward, ask yourself, am I being too monotonous? Is there a way to liven up the speech? This is how you turn an attack arrow into a lesson in self-improvement. Next step. Don't fight to win. Seek the truth. In the moment of public criticism, the instinct to knock out the other person and save face is strong. But remember, your goal is not to shut them up, but to maintain your sanity. Because if you win an argument but lose your cool, you've actually lost. True honor comes not from silencing the other person, but from handling the situation so that people leave with respect for you. They may not agree with you, but they will remember how calm, composed, and firm you were. This is also where you need to remember the golden rule of Stoicism. Focus on what you can control. You cannot and will never control what the crowd thinks. You cannot force people to like you, believe you, or side with you, but you do have complete control over your reactions, from your tone of voice, to your eyes, to your posture. I once witnessed a famous speaker being questioned harshly on stage. The questioner used a challenging, even insulting tone. The audience held its breath, waiting to see how he would respond. But he simply smiled, acknowledged the truth of the question, and then calmly provided reasons and data to support his point. No shouting, no defensiveness, no sarcasm. The result? He received applause, not because he had won the other person, but because he had won himself. Ask yourself, if you take the attention off the crowd, take the emotions out of your gut, what's the real issue? Will the words have a lasting impact on your work, your relationships, or your self-worth? If the answer is no, then why waste energy fighting back? When you learn to shift your focus from the crowd to the issue at hand, you'll find that every confrontation becomes a lot smaller. You're no longer dragged into other people's drama. You're simply a person who is choosing to act based on truth, not on the need to protect your immediate image. And here's the best part. When you focus on your essence, you naturally send a very powerful message to the crowd, that you have depth, that you are strong, and that you are not easily manipulated. That's the kind of strength that makes people respect you, not just like you. If you want to be able to face public criticism with composure, not just for a moment, but for the rest of your life, you need something called long-term self-reliance. This is not a skill that can be acquired overnight, but a process of practice, like building a strong fortress in your mind, so that no storm can knock you down. The first step in this process is to practice social tolerance. This may sound unpleasant, but the truth is that the more you avoid it, the more vulnerable you become to stares and comments. The best way to reduce that fear is to go straight into it. Give yourself opportunities to speak in front of others. Take the initiative to attend meetings, give presentations, or share your ideas in public, and be prepared to be criticized. I remember a friend of mine who was terrified of being judged. He avoided any public speaking situation because the thought of someone contradicting him in front of a crowd made his heart race. But then he decided to try something different. He started with small meetings and gradually worked his way up to larger conferences. Each time, he not only learned how to respond to criticism, but also realized that most people weren't as annoying as he thought. After a year, he became one of the most confident presenters in his company. The magic is, once you've experienced pressure enough times, it no longer intimidates you. The second step is to cultivate a strong core of values. This is more important than any communication skill. Because if you don't know what you truly believe in, you will be easily swayed by the opinions of others. When you are clear about your values and principles, praise will not make you complacent, and criticism will not make you doubt yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If what you do comes from a place of truth and integrity, No one else's opinion can make it wrong. This isn't a call to ignore all feedback, but rather a reminder that crowd opinion should be a guide, not a compass for your life. The third step, and the one that will help you stay calm in the long run, is to accept that reputation is variable. Today, you may be hailed as a hero. Tomorrow, one misunderstanding or one distorted story can make you the target of criticism. That's the nature of human society. Perceptions of you are constantly changing, and you have no control over them. So instead of letting your emotions rise and fall with the waves of fame, set a single yardstick. Am I acting in accordance with my principles? If the answer is yes, then whether outside praise or criticism, you can still hold your head high. Remember, long-term self-reliance doesn't come from avoiding criticism, but from building an inner foundation so strong that no words can break it. When you develop your ability to withstand pressure, hold on to your core values, and accept the impermanence of your reputation, you will enter any situation with a calm confidence. And when you do, you won't just survive public criticism, you'll use it as fuel to become stronger. You know, a public criticism is not a judgment. It does not define you. It is not the end of your reputation or your worth. It is just an event, a moment in life. And it will pass, like thousands of others. The problem is, many people treat public criticism as if it were a permanent truth. A label that sticks with them forever. And it's that thought that binds them, not the words themselves. True freedom does not come from getting everyone to agree with you. True freedom comes from within, from the ability to separate yourself from what others think of you. When you do not identify with your reputation, you will no longer be controlled by the eyes or the words of the crowd. You will find that you do not have to rush to defend your image, because your image is not you. And here's the game changer. When you're no longer driven by the pressure of reputation, you respond rationally, not emotionally. You no longer have to fight back just to win the crowd. Instead, you choose to respond in ways that serve a larger purpose, whether it's to find the truth, to keep your peace, or simply to avoid turning a small issue into a needless battle. Let me ask you this. You're in the middle of a heated argument in front of a group of people. The other person launches a personal attack on you. The room waits for your response. If you smile, take a deep breath, and respond in a calm voice, what happens? They may not agree with you, but they won't be able to deny your calm. You've sent a message that's more powerful than any rebuttal. You're in control. Wise people do not seek to win every argument. They seek to maintain peace in their minds, because they know that the greatest victory is not getting caught up in a pointless fight. Stoicism, a philosophy that has been around for thousands of years, reminds us that you can't lose what you don't own, and you don't own your reputation. This statement may confuse you, but think about it. Reputation exists in the minds of others, and you have no control over their minds. If that's the case, why would you let something that doesn't belong to you determine your mood, emotions, or self-worth? This doesn't mean you ignore feedback, or don't care about how you're perceived. It means you put reputation in its proper place, an external variable, not a foundation for confidence. When you understand this, you will feel much lighter. A compliment will make you happy, but not delusional. A criticism may make you think, but not shake you. And every time you walk through a public criticism with equanimity, you build another layer of strength in your inner fortress. So the next time someone criticizes you publicly, remember, it's just an event, not a judgment. You don't have to prove yourself right in front of everyone. The only thing you need to do is keep your mind at peace. Because that's the real victory. Are you calm enough when criticized in front of a crowd? Bullseye. In this video, you will discover the secret of Stoicism to not be bound by fame, turning every attack into inner strength. This is not only a way to cope, but also an art of living that helps you be confident, calm and in control of your emotions in every situation. Light bulb if you want to continue learning strategies to master yourself, overcome social pressure, and respond intelligently to any challenge. Don't miss the Mental Strength and Stoicism playlist. Each video will open a new perspective for you to become stronger from within. Please like, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any mental strength lessons.